Shalom. This week we're reading Parashat Tazria. Begins in the book of Leviticus, book of Vayikra, chapter 12. And although the entire Parsha is really dealing with the subject of tzarat, which is mistranslated as leprosy, this affliction, this spiritual, physical affliction known as tzarat, the Parasha opens up with something else, opens up with a type of impurity, tum'a, associated with childbirth. You know, last week we read the special Torah reading of Parshat Parah. For the maftir, the additional Torah reading, because we are getting ready now for Passover, we read about the ordinance of the red heifer. And so this week's experience, because everything is the way the Torah brings us these themes, all is totally coming to us live from all of the broadcasts that Hashem is giving us in time and space. So this week's experience of Parashat Tazria is coming to us on the heels of Parshat Parah last week. And we spoke about the fact that the essence of the experience, the understanding of the red heifer is about this humility associated with not really knowing. We spoke about this idea of the highest level is to be able to know that I really don't know anything at all. And that's really one of the major points of Parshat Parah, that we can't know everything. Who am I to know everything in this world? We don't know everything. And that maybe knowing that we don't know is really the essence of purity. Because it's really all about perspective. Everyone has a different idea of what they think they should know and who they think they are in this world and how much they really have to be kind of in charge in a way. Because take these laws, the laws of purity and impurity, Hebrew concepts, tum'a and tahara, that are translated as purity and impurity, doesn't quite do it. These laws are difficult to understand and very complex. And we know that they're associated with some sort of spiritual imbalance. But how really do we understand them? If we come to the Torah, and this I think is the whole point of what we were supposed to gather and glean and understand from the ordinance of the red heifer. If we come to the Torah with preconceived notions, trying to fit everything into our particular worldview and into our particular assumptions, that's really the very opposite, the diametric opposition of what I might call the red heifer mentality. The red heifer mentality is, I'm coming to Hashem and I am ready for anything. I am like, make myself open, and I'm trying to be so real with myself as to realize, like, I really don't know. I just know that the world is such a mystery and that Hashem is so great, and I really don't feel that I have to be in charge of everything because He's in charge. But some people, they come to the Torah with their particular assumptions, and they really feel that they have to know everything. Now we come to these laws that Parashat Tazria opens up with, these laws of the impurity associated with childbirth. It's a very difficult thing to understand. Why should bringing life into the world bring about a state of temporary impurity? This is a very bizarre situation, very difficult to understand. Life equals everything positive in the world. Why should the woman be considered to be impure because of childbirth? Something about this experience of birth actually turns her out from the Holy Temple for a particular period of time. It serves to distance her. It's a reason to distance her from the Holy Temple, the place of the Shekhinah, for a little while. And again, some people have to know everything, and they feel that they know everything, or feel that they have to feel that they know everything. And once they know everything, of course, they have not necessarily any use for God. And these people, of course, are miles ahead of the rest of us. They know how to put God in His place. So they look at these laws and they say, I have no use for these laws. They're outdated. They don't apply anymore. They are antiquated, archaic, primitive. This is the Dark Ages. But me, I'm enlightened, I'm sophisticated, I'm liberal. And it's because they have their own agenda which they actually project on everything. And so they'll say, for example, you know, I've always felt that Torah is so patriarchal, it's very anti-woman. Torah is anti-woman. They'll prove it to you. And this is one of the places where they'll bring you a proof. They'll say, look at the Torah, beginning in this week's Parshat. And it tells us that for giving birth to a male child, for 33 days she shall remain in blood of purity. She may not touch anything sacred. She may not enter the sanctuary until the completion of her days of purity. If she gives birth to a female, she shall be contaminated for 2 weeks, as during her separation, and for 66 days she shall remain in the blood of purity. So these people are going to say, oh, Torah is so anti-woman because something about giving birth to a female renders the mother impure, whatever that means, of course, in some sort of state of degradation or separation twice as long as the male. And so their whole take on this is that they found it now. They have no use for a God who's some sort of mafioso, some sort of head of some clan, very cliquish patriarchal society that is obviously looking down on women. Again, people have their particular agenda, which they are going to plug everything into. And as usual, that kind of mentality is based on arrogance and ignorance. Now, we've defined impurity consistently as a spiritual imbalance, but it's actually much more than this. You have to understand, a woman carrying a child is on the highest, most exalted level, because the soul of that child is pre-Eden, pre-Adamic. It's on the level of knowledge and of completion and of wholeness that hasn't been seen in this world since Adam and Eve ate from the tree of knowledge. Every soul that comes into the world before birth is on this level of perfection. And the Talmud tells us about how a candle is lit at the head of the unborn child. It's figurative. And with that light, which is the pre-fall from Eden light, the child literally sees from one end of the world to the other. And the mother, in the meantime, is so close to that soul. And the mother has a very special relationship with that soul. And you know, contrary to the people that are so enlightened and they have so many big ideas about what the Torah is really all about, the fact is, anyone who begins to study the depths of the Torah and the wisdom of the Torah knows that women are much higher than men spiritually, that women are much more in resemblance to the divine image. And quite simply, when we talk about this state of impurity associated with giving birth, what we're really talking about here is we're talking about that when that connection between the mother and the child who is on the level yet of pre-birth, when that connection is broken, there is a certain vacuum which is created because tum'a, because this idea of impurity, this concept of the spiritual imbalance, it's always associated with a vacuum, with a lacking. And so the mother is actually going to be going through a period of withdrawal, of, as strange as it might sound, again, this is in a very deep level of understanding of a type of mourning for the level that she had before. Not that we are looking askance or in a negative way at birth, at the actual physical birth, at the most beautiful relationship in the world, and at the opportunity to raise a child, but there was a vacuum that was created here which the mother feels. And because a female, in this case the female child, is so much more a replica of the divine image, quite simply the loss that the mother feels is twice as great. And her sense of emptiness is twice as deep. The point really is that when we open up our minds to what the Torah really is broadcasting to us, the message that the Torah has for our lives, we can somehow begin to free ourselves from the prejudices and the chips on our shoulders and the issues and the personal agendas that we all have, and we can see the whole. And in order to do that, we really have to be like little children. And that's one of the secrets expressed by our sages when they say that little children, when they begin to study the Torah, they start with this book. They start with Vayikra. They don't start with Genesis. They start with these complex laws of purity and impurity and the korbanot, the offerings in the temple, and all of the things that all of our sophistry, and all of our, tremendous knowledge, which of course is based on the way we feel about ourselves and the way we think we understand things and the way that we think things should be, and when something doesn't plug into that right away, well, then we have no use for it. And we have to mold everything according to the universe that we've created. But little children don't have that bias. And so they come with purity, like on a slate that's brand new. Nothing's been erased on it. And so we begin their career in Torah study with Sefer Vayikra, with the book of Leviticus. And our sages put this so succinctly, and they say, let the pure come and study the laws of purity. And on a deep level, the idea is because they have no agenda, because they're not out to prove something, they're not out to pigeonhole the Torah, they're not out to prop up their particular ridiculous agenda that they've created in order to validate their particular lifestyle. And so the message of the Torah for us with these laws is that we need to come to the Torah, we need to come to the book of Vayikra like children. We need to say to Hashem, please let me learn the truth about life. Let me understand the message that you are broadcasting about the true essential nature of the human experience and about how we can reinstate the value of life, the original value of human life that you have imbued us with, because we live in a world where human life no longer has any value. And what the Torah is really teaching us here is the complex relationship of souls, the infrastructure of creation, the ability that humanity has to rise above the banality of this world, to imitate the divine and the cause and effect of being part of that cycle. And these laws broadcast to us loud and clear the eternity and the true spiritual essence and the true intended purity of the human soul.